Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Alright, today I'm going to be covering the Talking Tarkov part 6. There's a lot to cover, so I don't want to waste any of your time, otherwise you're better off watching the whole 2.5 hour podcast, so let's crack straight into it. So first up during the podcast, we've got Nikita, Clean, Smoke, and Deadly Slob. Both Deadly Slob and Smoke are well and truly veterans of the Escape from Tarkov community, and they're probably up there as the best content creators for the game. Deadly Slob was the original person who made all the guides, who I learned how to play Escape from Tarkov from. Shout out to him, of course. And then Smokey is probably one of the most creative people in the game, using in-game comms to actually experience the game in the way it should be played. He's also got a DayZ background like Deadly Slob, so I'll leave it at that. Really cool guys, go check them out. So first up in the podcast, there was the leaks they brought out straight off the bat, which was for Interchange, the new Scav boss, the name Killer. He's got like this Ned Kelly helmet on. Ned Kelly's an Australian reference you guys might not know. I'll chuck a picture up here or here. And he's going to have the new RPK, and it's going to be really cool. So effectively, that's going to be the first way you're going to get the RPK in the game. And it's going to be the next boss or Scav boss put into the game. So something to look forward to. And it should be coming out in patch 0.11 as far as I understand at the moment. Now the Scav boss was designed from a cosplay picture that they saw, and they just made some tweaks to it, and that's how they got the whole history behind it. So after this, Clean asked Deadly Slob and Smoke about their opinions on patch 0.10 and what they discovered from this. So their opinions on what worked, what didn't, etc. Smoke started off saying that the spawn points are still an issue within the game. There's still too much congestion, and a lot of the action is happening right off the spawns, as well as loot interest spots, say the dorms, is just a typical spot for everyone to head to on customs. There's also still a lot of issues with stutters, and since patch 0.10, the trade kills have been increased a lot. This has been obviously brought to Nikita's attention, and they're going to look into it further in the future. However, with these changes in the netcode, there are actually bringing up issues that are like this being the trade kills. So Nikita did touch on the arena mode here. It's planned for patch 0.12, I'm guessing, the patch after 0.11, and it's going to be later on, probably start of next year at the earliest. It is definitely part of their end game plan, and that's going to be implemented with that. Deadly Slob spoke about how the Mosin changed the whole dynamics of the game, and how the Mosin has pretty much changed it from being like a hatcheter being your budget runs to the Mosin. And there was a lot of issues with people using the Mosin early on, but I think now that they've actually found a good price, the Mosin actually is very well situated within the game itself. Deadly Slob did bring up the point of how there's a lot of issues with the iron sights and the optics within the game. Nikita did seem a little bit surprised, but he's definitely going to be working on it. He's taken note of it, so hopefully optics, like for example from the video from Veritas Games, the optics are going to be getting worked on. From here, Nikita started talking about patch 0.10.5. This one is going to come with the medical animations, the flea market, and the MP7. With the medical animations, they're finding a good balance between how it's all going to be implemented, but the animations are pretty much all complete now. The time for each animation is pretty much going to be similar to what is already in the game, but you're going to have to complete the animation before you can go back to firing. There was discussion about how painkillers and morphine could be preloaded, and the effect of having a addiction system or some sort of diminishing returns. And Nikita's looking into the way that they're going to implement diminishing returns for that, or at least an addiction system, which means that your painkillers and morphine won't be as effective the more you use it. With the MP7, it's coming with plenty of little attachments. It looks really fun. It's going to have a lot of kick, but it does look like a really cool SMG to use within the game. They did go into a lot of detail about the flea market. With the flea market, there's going to be a way of just finding items to purchase, but as well as that, you can put up buy orders, which is kind of like an escrow system from EVE Online. Nikita got his influence from EVE Online, he said, where you could say, I want to have a Bitcoin, and you're willing to trade 2 condensed milks for it, and people will actually fulfill your Bitcoin order with their 2 condensed milks. So you can put up a heap of buy orders of items you're after. So you want a new M4 or whatever, and someone can go find that item that they want and get you that, and you can trade for it. So for example, if you want to trade your factory key for 20 condensed milk, because you still need 20 condensed milk, you can put it up for that and get it that way. It's a really cool system. Instead of being like your typical auction house where you just go in and buy stuff, having a buy order system up there actually makes it so you, as an individual, can go, hang on, I can easily farm X item. Say you're really good at fuel conditioners, you go farm the fuel conditioners because you know where they are, and you can fulfill a heap of buy orders and get items in the game that you're after. From here, they touched on the ranking system. Nikita wants there to be a ranking system within the game, and it's not going to just be based around kill-death ratio. I brought up the point in the chat, which thankfully Clean brought up. It doesn't have to be about kill-death ratio, and Nikita agreed it's going to be all about other stuff. So it could be who's got the most average money per raid, fastest leveling from 1 to 40, all these different things, just to have it as a bit of a gimmicky endgame option. So when you actually get to level 40, until there's a proper fully fledged endgame in the game, you've got other things you can work towards. So this could be opened up to anything. It's really up to what the devs decide, but it's what I want when it comes to a ranking system. I don't want it to just be based around a kill death ratio or the most kills, because I find that a lot of that can be exploited anyway. But it's like, yeah, you could work towards doing that. But some of us like to just play for fun, like myself. I just like to mess about in a lot of my raids, so my kill death ratio goes to shit. But there's a lot of other things in the game that I actually enjoy doing, like looting or making meme setups, and just even like the leveling process from 1 to 40. That can be in the leaderboard and make it so there's another option for you to actually do within the game that's its end game in itself. Smoke brought up the question about if trading will still be done in the game in the future. So instead of having like an outside the game mailing system where you can trade items to your mates, Nikita actually said you're still going to have to do it via the in-game method. There might be, instead of having to put it on the ground, a way to hand an item over to another person. But in the future, they're not going to actually have an external trading system. Nikita brought up his whole theory about the mushroom farm principle. So the easiest way to explain it is the more items looted from a specific area within the game, the less chance that item will spawn there. And the meaning is you have to actually search other areas for those items. So if you go to farm 310 of the East Winger Resort, the bitcoins will become less and less common, but they'll spawn up in other locations instead, making it so looting is more dynamic and spread out throughout all the maps. Now in the background, I've had a heap of pictures rolling that were from the podcast. They're bringing in a whole heap of new scopes, and they're also bringing in Mosin stocks and magazines. So you're actually going to be able to pimp out your Mosin and obviously have magazines on there and put sights on your Mosin that's different to your standard stock Mosin sight. Now these are probably going to be coming in patch 0.1, not in 10.5, but they're showing out a lot of the leaks now in anticipation for patch 0.11. I suppose I should really speak about this here. There was no actual mention of when the patch date is for patch 10.5. And it's not determined whether it's going to be a partial wipe, being just your trader rep's going to stay the same, or if your passives are going to stay the same as well. Nikita did make the mention that it might keep passives, but overall it did seem more to along the lines of it's just going to be your trader rep staying and not passive. Now I know I'm going through this nice and quickly, but I'm trying to get all the information across to you guys as quickly as possible and keeping everything to the point. Smoke brought up the point about recoil in the future, and with if it's going to get become harder, because at the moment you can go prone, go full auto, and a lot of rounds will go down range, and it's not very much of a spread. Nikita said as the game progresses into further development, he's going to make the recoil worse and worse, because the way it'll be is as you level up as a player, you'll have your skills up on your weapons and your recoil skill up, and that will reduce your recoil. So where we are right now is probably more like an end game player, and in the future your recoil will be a lot worse. Now for patch 0.11, they did confirm the HK417 will be there, as well as the Terra Labs map, something that will be good to look forward to, as well as a heap of new gear. Now, Nikita's already looked into the fact that moving around the marked room within the dorms, he said that there's going to be 3 marked circle locations, so every time you load into a map, it doesn't necessarily going to be in the same 318 or the marked room. It's going to be in a different room. I think he set up to 3 different rooms within the dorms. Now, I'm hoping to actually spread that a little bit even further, maybe even have it 2 in the 3-story and 1 in the 2-story, or even somewhere else on the map, to just spread out the searching throughout the map. So you're not going to have those people just charging those one locations. It could be spread out in different locations, making it more fun to actually explore maps instead of just going in a real dynamic approach. Now, voice over IP is still planned for patch 0.11. There'll be a quick mute button, so that way if you're having or getting spammed by it, you can just mute it instantly. You don't even have to turn it on, and you can still just use the in-game comms just like there is at the moment. Now, there's heaps and heaps of new clothing and gear being put into the game in patch 0.11. I've got it all rolling in the background right now just for you guys to check it out. But there's a heap of cool new stuff. There's going to be a lot more character customization. It's not items that are actually going to make you better at the game. It's going to be purely cosmetic, which is cool. It's going to give you more uniqueness to the game, and eventually we'll hopefully have this massive range of character customization with clothing, and you'll actually be able to feel like you're your own person within the game. Clean brought up an issue about the sound, and this has been a pretty common issue for a lot of people that play the game. I noticed it most on Factory, where you're near the staircase at the end of each of the hallway on the 3rd floor. You won't really get a good understanding of the up and down sound. The vertical sounds have real issues within the game. Whilst the sound quality is amazing, like the thunder is beautiful, the issues with the sound being up and down, and for example, a good one that Nikita brought up was on interchange, how there's like, half a meter of concrete between your feet and the floor below, yet you can still hear someone below you. Nikita actually stated that they are working on making it so you won't be able to hear people below you on interchange and above you if they're not in the actual right areas to be heard. So for example, you're not going to hear someone in the car park when you're on the 1st floor or even on the top floor. Smoke brought up the issue about matchmaking and how there's a common issue with the servers getting more quiet later on the patches. I totally agree with this, how there needs to be an extension to the matchmaking time, but you don't want to be waiting 5 minutes for a map. I do want to get in maps with players, but I don't want to be waiting 10 minutes to get into it. A good option that I thought was valid was, instead of having the 2 options for day and night, you actually only have the one, and it's on a full rotation circle. But the cool thing about it is, and Clean brought this one up, was you could have it so, say, customs and interchange are on the daytime cycle when shoreline and woods are on the nighttime cycle. So if you don't want to go to a night raid, you can actually just jump across to the other one, which will, like one of the other maps, and that will be on a daytime cycle. That way you can actually still do day raids if you want to, but it also forces more people into the same maps, bring in more player density, and it actually forces people to do nighttime raids. I think one of the things that's cool about nighttime raids is it's easy to get your tasks done, but at the same time, it would be cool to just go into those nighttime raids and then be constantly in fear of people everywhere, and then actually wanting to get your night vision out and then going hunting people on nighttime, on full nighttime servers. Right now, it's very hit and miss if you even find a player on a nighttime server. Now, as I talk about the next points, I'll have some pictures rolling in the background of the actual BSG headquarters in their development. They've got a heap of photos up of their workstations, which is just a bit of a fun thing that I wanted to show off during the podcast. I'm going to talk quickly about the Terra Group Labs map. They started releasing the screenshots to it. It is definitely confirmed for patch 0.11, and they're going to use it as their platform to test out a whole heap of new mechanics. For example, they're going to have the coded doors with key cards. They're going to have new types of exits, blast doors, and they're going to have the newest implementation of scavs, being the scav raiders, which are a 3 to 4 man team, like a counter-terrorism unit, and they're actually going to be actively patrolling around the map trying to kill you as a PMC. There is not going to be any actual scavs on the map besides these raiders, from what Nikita said, and it's going to be a cool way of just having a different type of, say, NPC within the raid. So instead of them just being on a simple patrol path, they'll actually be actively hunting. Currently for patch 0.11, they have planned 6 to 7 new melee weapons, which will also be part of the cultist lore, which is kind of cool. And the SVD is confirmed for patch 0.11. So that's really cool in itself as well. The arena is planned for early 2019, and the hideout is planned for this year. So hopefully we'll get there by the end of the year. We'll just have to wait and see. Nikita touched on daily and weekly tasks. They are planned for the game. There is a book, a second book being written at the moment for Escape from Tarkov, going on the lore, and it touches more on the cultist storylines, which is kind of cool in itself. The last couple of points I have, the compass is planned for patch 0.11, but we're not sure which one it's going to be, either the wristwatch kind of compass or actual handheld compass. And lastly, they're planning to have the scav boss as a playable selection in your scavs, but it's going to be planned probably for after patch 0.11. 0.11 is going to be based mostly around adding content to the game, and then actual more in-depth mechanics will be implemented later on. So guys, I've pumped through a lot of information here. I'm sorry I haven't given too much of an opinion about it. I want to keep this more of a to the point what was spoken about on the podcast. So the guys that don't have 2.5 hours to watch it can actually get the majority of the points here. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you got any comments about this, feel free to chuck them down below. I'm trying to get back to writing as many replies to my YouTube comments as possible. Otherwise, you can hit me up on my live stream. The link to that is down below. Otherwise, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future content, and lastly, I'll see you next time.